Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Talk. Today we are live in Tampa, Florida at the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit, and I am sitting here with Miss Sam Sorbo. Sam, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
All right, Sam.
Great to be here.
Yeah, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a dad. Not yet, anyway. No, kidding. So I'm a homeschool advocate. My mission is to empower parents to educate their children themselves. And I'm rebranding homeschool because it's neither home nor is it school. School is what happens when you go to school. You get schooled. So if you're a parent and you think that you're incapable of educating your children, you've been schooled to believe that.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you how wrong that is and that you're more than capable. And so to that effect, I just started a new TV show on Epoch TV, EPOCH. It's affiliated with Epoch Times. So I'm excited about that. New episodes out every Monday. The first one just aired. Last Monday, so the next one will be this coming Monday, and I'm very excited about that. I'm going to try to wake people up to understand what education really is, or what it should be, because we don't understand education anymore.
No, I've said, especially here as in recent years, it seems like our education system has become more like an indoctrination system. There's so much that's being shoved down our kids' throats. It used to be mainly in the colleges, but we've seen it going all the way into the elementary schools, and as young as, when they very first start walking and start watching TV.
But it's that crazy. It's gone that far off the rails. So I do that. I also produce films with my husband, and I also act. And we have a new film that I'm hoping will be in theaters this fall called Miracle in East Texas. So if you want more information about that, you just go to sorbos.org. I'm excited about that one because it's a true story, but we tell it as a comedy. So it's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I'm glad you're bringing up the homeschooling issue because I think it's one of the first things that we started relying on the government for. Well, the government will educate our kids. They'll pick them up, they'll feed them, they'll teach them, and they'll bring them home. So, and I think that really, is part of the breakdown of the family is we started giving our parental responsibilities to the state. But we look at the breakdown of the family. I want to talk to you a little bit about the role of a wife, because I think women have responsibilities in not keeping dads in the lives of children or in divorce altogether. So here you are, you're this amazing mom, you're a great supportive wife.
Have you been talking to my kids?
You're so accomplished, and yet you still have what matters. You still have the core that is your family, and that what matters. So can you talk to our followers a little bit about being a good wife, a good godly wife?
Wow,
it's a huge loaded question, but I will say this, from after talking with your husband, and then just the brief interaction I had with you, and then really talking about the homeschooling, I think we as women have lost sight of the fact that, the feminist movement has really brainwashed women into, look, you don't have to worry about anything. You do what you want to make yourself happy.
Well,
and that's not the case.
So I think it stems from... It stems in part from women working and wanting to work. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to work. But what happened was they took the gloves off that and they said, you can have it all, and you can't.
That's right.
You may not. Every choice involves a sacrifice. Whenever you choose something, you are giving something else up. And society has now convinced young women that they can give up family, and they can give up husbands, and they can give up raising their own children without a cost.
Right.
And there is a cost. And so I was very lucky. I recognized that very early on. My husband was very ill right before we got married, and I was faced with a choice of, was I going to stay by his side and help him get better, or pursue my career? And it was a binary choice. I couldn't do both.
Right.
And so I could have tried to do both, but because of the way that the choice was presented to me, I recognized that it was a binary choice, that I wasn't going to effectively be able to pursue both. But we tell young women, you can effectively have a full-time career and effectively parent a child.
Yeah.
The child will suffer because you're not there. That's just the way that it works. And, you know, my husband traveled a lot.
Right.
And so when we brought our kids home and started homeschooling, he immediately recognized that, boy, when he was home, he was just with the kids. And that was like a huge blessing, because I wasn't like screaming at the kids to get them ready to go to school so that I could drop them off and, you know, and then he's just at home all day, working obviously. But no, when he was home, they'd be in his room doing their coloring or doing their work, or, you know, they'd just be in the office with him. And he's told me countless times how precious that time was for him, just to be in the same room so that they could say, look, Daddy, look what I did. And he could, you know, comment on it. And you know, we forego all of that when we send our kids to school. We give it up so easily. We're just like, well, you know, this is the way it's done.
Yeah.
And now what's exciting to me is they've really overreached.
Oh, yes.
They've really overstepped. Mm-hmm. And so now the blinders are coming off and people are recognizing this.
Yep.
What's frustrating is that we see parents, you know, standing up to the school board. Why are we, as Christians or as parents who want to teach our children truth, why are we satisfied with crumbs? Why are we satisfied with trying to teach that school board a lesson so that this doesn't happen again? Are you aware that in Ohio, at least, the teachers have banded together and said, well, we don't care if they tell us not to teach critical race theory, we're going to teach it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, stop accepting scraps.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to make sure that no, you're not, no, you won't, because you won't have any idea what's happening in the school. You won't have any idea what happens in the classroom. Unless your child comes home and tells you, oh, my child tells me everything. No, they don't. Sorry. I've seen it too often.
Right.
You know, I've seen it with pastors' kids, and the pastor's saying, my kids da 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 da, and the pastor's kid sitting at the back of the assembly with his, you know, buddy saying, if he only knew.
I was the pastor's son.
Were you that pastor's son?
Yeah.
Sadly. So I'm just saying, you know, and then I will say this, not to brag, but I do love my kids. I have on many different occasions. I go to bed early. I tend to go to bed early, and I sit in bed with my computer or with my books, and I'm reading, doing work. On many occasions, my teenagers have come into my bedroom just to talk, just
Mine
to sit
too.
on my bed late at night and tell me what's going on in their life.
How great of a feeling is that?
That's there's nothing like it. I'm being filled. And it's, by the way, it's not interesting stuff.
Right.
Typically, like, they're going through something that I'm just like, well, we could just resolve that if you'd stop talking to the idiot that you're talking about, you know, or whatever. Like, we could just resolve. But no, my job's not to fix it. My job's to prod, ask questions, and maybe offer advice. But, you know, they're coming to me just to share. That's what's amazing to me, is it's not they didn't, like, hit a wall and go, oh my gosh, now I have to ask her because I've got nowhere else to turn. No, they're just like, Mom, I just wanted you to know this thing's going on, and I'm kind of struggling through it, but I think I'm going to get it worked out, and, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That is the benefit of having spent all this time at just being around my kids. And trust me, it's not 8 hours a day. It's not 5 hours of my time a day. It's just that I'm there and I'm guiding them, and they're learning the stuff that they need to learn.
That's what it's all about.
I'm so glad to hear you talking about this, because we talk about the fatherless epidemic. We talk about children growing up being dad deprived, but us as women, us as mothers, don't. I don't think we don't talk enough about the role that we play in that, and how fulfilled we are as mothers when you see your children growing up with their father, or growing up healthy, coming in and talking about these, you know, even if there's small issues, they're, you know, big issues to them.
Right.
But our decisions that we make as mothers play into this role of keeping the family together. And I love that you're saying we can't have, we think having it all means I have a career, that my kids go to school and make straight A's. Society has really brainwashed, and unfortunately women through the feminist movement, into the opposite of what is true.
Yeah, and you know, I've said this to and it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Because I've said this to my little girl. If you want to grow up and be a mom who homeschools, because she kind of does,
Right.
that's okay. That's a valid choice. But it's very difficult to tell a young woman whose mother just divorced and now has to support the family and the dad's gone. Very difficult to tell a young woman who's living through that.
Yeah.
That. And I lived through that because I grew up without a father. And I'm just blessed that I made the choice that I made and found the guy that I found and somebody who's committed to marriage, right? I think that we just, we no longer teach. Well, let me ask you this: what's a good education? What does getting a good education mean to you? And think about this, people who are watching. Like, how would you define a good education?
I'd say morals and life lessons. A lot of the most important things in life, these kids aren't getting in school.
Right.
I think when we think of education, we think of high test scores, we think of top 5% of the class, and I think that's
Which
generally
leads to
we
what?
think.
Like, what's the result of a good education?
The result is getting a college scholarship or getting, some sort of an
Keep going.
academic scholarship,
Right.
and getting into a good school.
Right? And then what?
And then graduating and getting a good job.
Good job.
Yeah.
We equate a good education with a good job.
Success.
That is not the definition of a successful life.
That's right.
Tombstones don't read, "My job was great. I'm so grateful for my job. Here lies Joe. He
worked
loved his
overtime."
work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, and so, but yes, we had to kind of walk through it, but honestly, that's really our working definition of good education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
College prep and career readiness.
Yeah.
Never mind that that's unsuccessful because so many kids are graduating now completely unprepared for the real world, completely unprepared to hold a job, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we need to rethink what we think about education, how we define it for ourselves. And that's why I'm rebranding it to self-teaching, because you as the parent, your job is to nurture, protect, keep them out of government schools. To nurture and protect so that they can find out who they are and help them discover that. And then the other thing about education is, it used to be the pursuit or the discernment of truth, beauty, and goodness. Well, they don't teach any of that in school. They teach the opposite. So there is no absolute truth. There's no objective truth. Truth it depends on whose truth. Your truth, my truth, which is absurd, right? There is no truth. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and goodness, well, it depends on who's calling the shots, right?
Right.
Riots in the summer, during COVID, excellent, good,
Yep.
super, right? A kerfuffle at the Capitol building, the worst day in U.S. history, right?
Yeah.
So good is now completely subjective. So knowing that it used to be the pursuit of truth, beauty, and goodness, and now those three things are completely off the table. What is education today? What is our education system doing? It certainly isn't educating, because it's doing the opposite. It's uneducating.
Yeah.
It's making people stupid. It literally
completely
is
agree.
making people uneducated.
I
This is a
agree.
very, very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing. We are now a society of completely nincompoops. We're uneducated. And I'm sorry, because I count myself among that, except I've taught myself a lot.
Right.
Through what? Home education. Because when I started to take my kids and try to teach them, guess who learned the most? Yours truly.
I agree. Yes.
And that's the most beautiful part of
It
this.
is. Yes.
And that's why God gave us children, to teach us.
That's right.
And that's what we're missing. We're missing that entire beautiful equation because we think we know better than God. We got it sussed. God, you can bow out. Kids will go to school. They won't learn morals. They won't learn virtue. They won't learn that virtue exists.
Right.
They will learn the opposite of that. It's child abuse.
Absolutely. Sam, I asked your husband this same question. We talk about feminism and society, the education system, and all these things that are coming against our families and that are coming against our kids. But let me ask you, what do you think Hollywood plays in this? What responsibility do they have with the way they put things on that major screen?
Well, so Hollywood has an agenda.
Yeah.
They have a religion. Okay, we're talking about left-wing Hollywood.
Right.
There is right-wing Hollywood. There is conservative Hollywood. But
Very
Yes,
Uneven.
it's completely lopsided, but there is.
Yes.
So I'm not throwing everybody under the bus. I just
Right.
want to be clear. I don't throw teachers under the bus. I think teachers are trying to do a good job in a broken system. So
Talking
right?
about a select few.
Yeah. But in Hollywood, what we have is an agenda to deny the Bible. So I write. I've written books on homeschooling. I just came out with another book called Words for Warriors, which I should have with me, but I don't. Anyway, the book Words for Warriors emanated from the word fascism, which the left has now redefined to mean right wing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Fascism has nothing to do with the right wing.
Right.
It's entirely left wing. But if you Google it, if you look it up online, it says that it's right wing, which is absurd. And it makes absolutely no sense. If you just like start pulling that thread a little bit, it completely unravels.
But that's what they want people to
Right.
think, right?
So my book, Words for Warriors, is dedicated to the Word, because
Right.
in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? And so what is the left trying to do? They're taking our language and completely nullifying it. They're trying to silence us. They have an antagonism against the Word. And so Hollywood, by the same token, doesn't want the true story, and so they have these false stories, and they set it up. So Murphy Brown can have a child out of wedlock, and it doesn't cause any problems, and the child grows up completely healthy and wonderful.
They set it up as the ideal, is what they do.
And in fact, they set it up as the ideal. Rachel from Friends can do the same thing, and then you've got several episodes where the child doesn't figure in at all. It's like she didn't even have a child, but she did. So where did that go? And so they make it seem like they live in a fairy tale.
Right.
They live in a web of lies, really, and it's too bad. But what happens is those stories permeate the culture, and where did we go? Where did the Christians go? We hid
Yes,
inside
exactly.
our churches.
Yep.
We said, oh, there's no religion. We can't do religion and politics. I tell you something, religion and politics is like this, and the
It
sooner that
is,
we
yeah.
recognize that, the better off we are. Because you show me a politician who doesn't make policy decisions
Yeah.
based on his worldview,
Right.
and I will show you a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And worldview is religion. So the greatest trick the devil ever played was to teach the world, to fool the world into thinking that he didn't exist, right?
Right.
But the greatest trick that they've played on us is to make us think that they don't believe in God. They do believe in God. They believe they are God. That's why you're not allowed to go to church.
Right.
But you can go worship at the Planned Parenthood and do child sacrifice.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
And you can go worship at the pot dispensary and get high. And you can go to the strip club and get your jollies on.
We look at all these issues that are going on, even down to homeschooling. It's extremely difficult with a fractured family. So you have Hollywood contributes, you have our laws that contribute, you have a breakdown in the churches, you have a breakdown in morals overall, which fractures the family. And now you look at how many kids, like 80% children of this approximation in the black community growing up without their dads. How's a mom supposed to homeschool in this situation? You have, these parents who divorce where dads don't have a say often, sometimes in these decisions, education decisions, where I hear a lot, well, I can't, I don't have time, I don't have the opportunity to homeschool. So they ship their kids out and the cycle just perpetuates.
Yeah, so I talked with a dad who was married, and his son was failing 7th grade. And he said, we have to homeschool. And his wife said, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
So he moved his job to evenings. He worked every night. He worked the night shift. He would come home and homeschool his boy in the morning.
Good for her.
Every day. And he did 8th grade. They finished 7th grade. He got him all the way through 8th grade. And so he skipped the 8th grade year in school and re-enrolled him for 9th grade because he got him caught up. And I asked him, and by the way, he drove a limousine, or he's a
Right.
car driver. And I asked him, I said, how was your relationship with your son? He said, well, it was pretty rough initially. But I got to tell you, eventually we worked things out, and it was really good.
Good for her.
It is not an all-day thing.
Yeah.
And so, and that's my message. So that's not an excuse anymore. You may not make the excuse, oh, I don't have time. Make the time. And by the way, education should be teaching your child what you do for a living.
Right.
Maybe the kid wants to follow in your footsteps. Maybe that would be a good thing. Maybe, we don't know. We've just got this idea that education is checking boxes, multiple choice questions on a test. That it's so not that. The last thing you should do if you're going to educate your child is emulate what the school does. Because that's schooling. The last thing you want is for your child to be schooled. You want your child to be an independent thinker so that they aren't taken advantage of by the nefarious politicians,
Yep.
which is what's happening today. I'm just saying.
I got you. We definitely
wink, wink,
got.
nudge, nudge.
Oh yeah, 100%. But speaking out about these morals, and especially like having a platform like Kevin and you do, what's some of the opposition that's came at you? Because anything that's moral or just, it seems to either be getting censored.
No, people love us.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't focus on that.
Right.
There's a lot of nastiness.
But I
I've
think
had
a
my
lot of
life
people
threatened.
do. I think a lot of it scares a lot of people from speaking out, and that's why we're stuck like the hamster on the wheel, because we've got to
Well,
organize.
there are a lot of people who haven't been taught because they went to school
Yeah.
that there is something called virtue.
Yeah.
And this is what I say. This is what I say to that, because there are oftentimes the interviewer will say, you and your husband have sacrificed so much. And I say, no. I haven't sacrificed anything.
That's right.
They're all sacrificing. The people who compromise their morals, who sit on their hands, who refuse to speak up even though they know the truth. That's the sacrifice. You're sacrificing yourself. You're sacrificing your self-worth. You're sacrificing your self-image. That's the sacrifice. So, and like I said before, everything is a sacrifice.
Yep.
So I just choose not to see it as a sacrifice because I'm doing what I was called to do. And I'm holding fast to the truth. And that's all I can do. That's what my books are about. That's what my movies are about. That's what it's about.
If there was any moms or dads that are kind of thinking about that homeschool process, getting more involved like you're talking about, what are some of the steps that you would tell them to take right off in the beginning?
Love your kids. Depending on their ages, the first people ask, well, first of all, watch my show on Epic TV.
Yeah,
right?
see, that's it.
Because
that's number one.
I'm really trying to educate people about what education is, because we don't know.
Right.
And so if you're going, okay, I'm going to homeschool my kids, the last thing you should do is think, what does the school do, and let me do that. Don't do that. Because what does school do? They make everything boring. So you don't want to learn anymore. So that by the time you're ready to leave school, you're like, ugh, I hope I never have to crack another book again. I hate reading. I hate math. I hate learning, right?
Yeah.
They make it hard. They make you think that learning's hard. Learning's not hard. Learning's a pleasure. Learning's fun.
Yeah.
Children are curious. Why? Because God made them curious. And they love to learn. So feed that.
Right.
Nurture that. And then go find stuff. And by the way, you've got the internet. You've got everything available to you on the internet. You've got YouTube. And obviously be careful what you allow your children to access on the internet.
Right.
But if you've got a rocket scientist, then go on YouTube and find rocket videos and show them that they can build their own rocket. And go to the hobby store and find the materials to build their own rocket and all of that stuff.
Right.
And have fun. This should be a fun pleasure. You've created a human being, and now you have the opportunity to get to know them intimately and for a long time.
Absolutely. Sam, thank you so much for coming and sharing this message with our audience. And I'm sure there's probably a lot more that we could go over about this. I know you said something about your show and your books and some of the movies you got coming out. If somebody wanted to see what all you're doing and keep up with that, where would they find you?
So there are two places. There's samsorbo.com. And so if they go to samsorbo.com, all my books, all my videos are there. I'm also on YouTube, Rumble, Locals, sorbos.locals.com. And sorbos.org is for the movies, and then there are links there. You can find me there too. So it links over to my website also. So we're in the process of streamlining everything so that it's easier for people to find out stuff. As you probably know, my husband was taken off of Facebook.
Yes.
Digital assassination is what we call it.
We got a warning after doing our interview with Kevin too.
Oh, you got a warning.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
We got a 30-day block.
You see, that's the left, okay?
Yep.
They don't seek freedom. They seek enslavement. They don't like words because words represent truth and God. And so they use the words to lie. And then they want you to use the words to lie also.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wrote Words for Warriors, because I'm codifying what the words actually meant, what they should still mean, and how we need to be knowledgeable about when they're actually getting us to lie with our own words. Fascism is left wing. And it's, by the way, the book's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of sarcasm in it and a lot of humor and stuff, so.
Oh, by the way, I know Kevin has told everybody to reach out to him. And are you on Clout Hub?
I'm not. Am I? I think I might be. I haven't been over there in a while.
Speaking of the censorship, I know Kevin's one of the
Yes, he
ambassadors.
loves
Guys,
Clout Hub,
this
yeah.
is our alternative social media right here, and this guy protects your right to free speech and for us to get out messages like you're talking about. So
Yeah.
very, very important.
So do go to Cloud Hub. I must have an account. I just haven't been there for a while.
Yeah.
They did some new updates, and it is probably the most user-friendly platform there is right now.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely did. Sam, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for raising awareness on these issues. We definitely need much more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.